waiting to take a left instead of stacking. All you gotta do is one car there to the left. Mention that. Yes.
State highway.
Is it for sale?
It's been for sale for 2 years.
What's he want for it?
You know how much they get? Yeah. Man, you can read it.
And Sherry, she was so impressed that you answered the telephone.
But $1 million. And if you don't stop, the state is supposed to start not right. Good morning, Luke.
I'm good. You okay? For the filming, yeah, they'll take them out.
I don't know about that. Griffin's tired.
Well, I mean, you know, we got 2 out of 7.
It's a reflection of my leadership.
Griffin, well, that has
There is coffee back there.
Damn, I had to drive all the damn time. That's what time I've used that in one.
Oh, I count.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the workshop to the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners, November 27th. Welcome to all and happy post-Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. First item today is discuss amending the Code of Griffin, Georgia, 46, fire prevention protection, inspection of private fire hydrants, and the installation of lock boxes for new businesses from this point forward. And fees for reinspection. Chief of Staff Jessica Turner, Fire Marshal Mike Thompson, and Fire Chief Tommy Jones will address. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Glad to be with you. First of all, we have made some changes in our prevention bureau. You know, the fire prevention team, the fire marshal and fire inspector, often the most recognized faces when it comes to our business community. Thompson has been serving as our fire inspector for 4 years. Four years. He recently was promoted to fire marshal. We're pleased to welcome Captain Brandon Gates, has just recently been promoted to fire inspector. So we're very excited about our new team of Fire Prevention Bureau. This amendment to the ordinance basically gives us a little bit of better tools in the toolbox. First of all, as to maintain Class 1 ISO rating, we have to maintain our fire hydrants every year. Keller was gracious enough to bring in a company to take care of our city hydrants. But we have quite a few private fire hydrants in our community, and that is the responsibility of the actual owner of that hydrant to maintain per such standards. And what this section will give us the authority for the fire prevention folks to go out and enforce that. Secondly, we are asking to amend to install, as you have some diagrams there, what they call a Knox box. This is an industry box that will allow fire crews to have a universal key with a very strict accountability system to enter into businesses on these calls. I did a Six Sigma project with this to study the efficiency of our alarm time, and it is not uncommon for our fire crews to have to sit at a fire between 30 and 60 minutes to wait for a key holder to come and open up for an alarm call. It will give us the ability to make an immediate entry or investigation and save valuable property. The cost of one of these boxes is much less than the replacement of a door and window, so we feel like this is a very good system. And also, this ordinance does address some fees for reinspection. As you understand, we do have some of our local businesses and structures that often do not get the fire codes constantly go back. This puts a little bit of teeth the game and gives us the ability to impose some type of fees for it. So, and Jessica and Mike are here. Are there any questions about these changes?
What's the fee structure? The additional.
Okay.
Good morning. At this point, we're going to bring the fee schedule to December 11th because there's some other fees with other departments that also need to be adjusted. So we wanted to go ahead and add an ordinance that we can adjust fees through the fee schedule because it's not currently in the fire protection ordinance. We'll bring the We've got a couple different cities that we're looking at to propose for those.
Any other questions?
So basically, there's no cost to the city
For the
boxes.
The Knox boxes cost to the business. They install it. We have the only master key to get in. With our master key, if you notice on page 2, inside of a box that they have to go out. So the key is accountable for it. That we know who took the key and what personnel has that key out at any point in time.
What's the average price?
The average price is usually about $350 to a business, but a replacement of a glass door, if we had to go into the building and bust into the door, would be over $500.
Wow.
So.
And the reason we're bringing this back to you now is that a lot of the newer businesses that have come, like Aldi, and I think Ollie's has already said that they are going to have a Knox box that they want us to use. So it seems to be now just more common in the industry than it used to be. So we think it's a good time to go ahead and require that.
On page 3, we have businesses that have already joined on board. Aldi's a corporate standard. They have to do it. Aldi is kind of a corporate standard, but since Aldi Village handles that area, they agreed to put it on the village with sprinkler systems and alarm systems for us. And then Advanced Box and Briggs Own and the University of Georgia is also interested. So far, we have not had any kickback from businesses voluntarily putting them on. The ordinance is just so that we can place that Knox is the box that we use as a standard because one key helps instead of having 40 or 50 keys in a box.
There is a resident. This is what we're discussing.
residentials can put them on. If a homeowner chooses to put one on, that's not them. It's not an ordinance required for a residential. The ordinance would only be for businesses. But there's an option for residential personnel to put it on their homes. And it's 3 years. Most I've researched most industry, when they pass an ordinance, it's 1 year to do it. I've put in there for a standard of 3 years, just to give us more time to allow businesses that don't want to get on board, kind of be able to get them on board.
If a business has a fire and police monitored, and you get a police call, would the police department have access?
The police would not have access to keys. There's actually a separate key. The fire department I'm the only one that can access keys or get extra keys for any lockbox. So if the police needs in there for some reason, they could call the fire department and we could open up locks for them if it was some security reason.
And so the box would basically mount on the wall,
right?
The main entrance.
Yeah, all the surrounding system. If you're ever at the business, you'll notice it's a box on front. If you ever at they already got one that's on the right side of the door. Basically, we got our master key, put it in the box, open it up, and we have access to the all areas of the building that we need. Fire alarm systems and systems and stuff. That's important.
Any other questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next item is presentation of the 2018 Stormwater Utility Annual Report. Deputy Director of Stormwater, Bryce Martin. Good evening, sir.
Proud to present the 2018 Stormwater Utility Report. Starting on page 1 with administration, we received a favorable report of our MS4 annual report this year. And of course, that's kind of what we live and die by in the stormwater world. That's what we have to present to the state each year on our activities. So that was a favorable from the state this year. Page 2, if you kind of flip over to that, just kind of run through some of the milestones that we did and achieved this year. Had our 4th annual water tower competition. We had a huge turnout for that this year. I think that's really gaining some popularity among schools. We had 4 middle schools that entered and had 22 entries with about 30 students competing. So that was a big deal for us. We were able to update our social media and website presence this year and had about 7 videos produced. We were kind of producing little small 30-second, 1-minute videos for people to go get a lot of stormwater education there. Had about 190 staff and volunteers that participated in our stream cleanup, and we had control and stormwater pollution prevention, that side of stuff. So a lot of education this year. Distributed about 1,000 water kits, and we had 4 mobile education programs. So if you're not familiar with that program, we actually go out in schools. We have full-time staff that will go out in the schools and sort of tailor a program for what teachers do in their classroom time. So if it's water pollution, something to do with the water cycle, water conservation, we actually take a program to the teachers' needs. So we had several programs for that. The stream workshops, and we had over 80 public involvement and education outreach programs. So on the operations and maintenance side of things, we had over 52,000 feet of channels, ditches, streams, things that we were able to address and clean this year, kind of keep that stormwater flowing like it should. Had over 40 work orders that we addressed, and left in boxes. And you see on page 3, we got 6 sort of major projects we worked on this year. We still have a couple of the works we're trying to wrap up before. This is our 27th year being a tree city, being recognized as that tree city. So a lot of institutions kind of taking down a lot of trees that are diseased or damaged during storms and things like that. Planted back over 230 city trees. That was big for us this year, and we kind of continue to do that each year. Completed our hazardous tree survey, so we kind of know what's out there and what we've got, what needs to come down, what's good. We had again, going back to our public education for us, our environmental council with us and participate with some of the things that we do. One of my goals this year was really make a push for adult education. We really go into the school system. We've done a good job with that, but we kind of don't do the adult education thing really well. So we're in the library a lot this year doing some programs there. We had a photo contest to kind of promote pollution prevention, things like that. So we did a good job with that this year, I think. Again, going back to the stream cleanup, we had about 180, 190 participants, had picked up well over a ton of trash, a lot of tires and things like that. Staff inspected about 330 drainage networks with the help of our summer interns, and we collected about 173 stream samples to analyze that water quality. And we had over 1,000 erosion and sedimentation visits on active construction sites, to make sure that sediment's not getting out the road and getting in the streams and things. So, had been busy here, and we look to another coming up soon. So, any questions? Okay.
Mr. Martin, for your
thank
service. Merry Christmas. Is the annual review of electric environmental compliance cost recovery, ECCR, and power cost adjustment. Electric Department Dan Thompson and Mr. Nigel. Gwynn, I'm sorry. Will give us an update.
Good morning.
Good to see you all today.
Good to see you. Thank you for having us. Last year when we presented our cost of service study, which had been refreshed for the first time in some time, we agreed that we were going to present to you all annually with our ECCR, which is an environmental cost recovery, and we're going to talk about some of the mechanics on that and where its inception was and what it does and what it doesn't do versus a PCA, which is a power cost adjustment. There's always these moving parts in the rate structure and data analytics, so that's why I asked Joe to come join us and get you up to speed on where we are, as we committed to last year, to let you know where we are and what we'd like to see and where. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. To talk about environmental compliance cost recovery, and excuse me, I do have recovering from a flu, so I sound a little bit harsh. What is environmental compliance cost recovery? Is really a way for a city to track the costs of making sure that your existing generation resource are up to code with the EPA mandate or the Clean Water Act. The history of ECCR, as I say, is around 2008, I believe, when the EPA forcing MEAC, your wholesale cost provider, to put in scrubber unit and carbon dioxide cleaning, all that stuff onto the supposedly dirty generation plant that you currently have, mainly gas and coal plant. So all these costs, it does take some cost to make sure those scrubbers are put in place. So it does create a long-term debt for those. So essentially, MEAC each year update the debt service costs and there inform the participant, meaning the city, about each changing in those ECCR costs. So where we are here is to communicate to you that, this year ECCR costs MEAC has deemed to decrease because probably a reduction in debt service. And so the change, where it's currently now 0.0067 per kilowatt hour to 0.0060 per kilowatt hour. What that means is, if you decide to reduce ECCR equate to about 70 cents per 1,000 kilowatt hour on an average resident bill. So if you consider a resident 1,000 kilowatt hour, that's 70 cents reduction. Okay. Now, you also see on adjustment. Power cost adjustment is generally a tool that allows a city to make interim adjustment to make sure that you're collecting sufficient revenue to pay for your budget. So where you see here is that when we reduce the ECCR, we also recommend increase PCA. The rationale for that, in most cities, they have been counting on the budget. The budget is pretty much fixed. So when you have an item that decreases, for example, ECCR, that means the money has to. So that's why I recommend offsetting change in PCA. So whereas you're reducing the ECCR, you increasing the PCA so that you are on a budget years, all the revenue you are counting on is still there. That is not by the end. We're not coming back to the city council and asking for potentially increase just because we are decreasing the cost up front. So that's what we're here to present to you. So any question, please?
Yeah, from 1.0180 to 0.187, that will increase it to 77,000.
Right.
Okay, so it's
basically the net effect is zero.
okay.
Yeah. Remember that ECCR was born out of 2008 EP mandate. Before the ECCR, everything was rolled to PCA. So even if ECCR did not exist, PCA would basically not, the PCA would be used to move up and down. And so we don't like, since you already had the budget, we don't like it moving so much. So.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.
Final item today is to discuss further options addressing auto repair facilities and the unsightly outside storage of vehicles under repair and operable vehicles. Developmental Service Director Tucson Kirk and staff Jessica O'Connor will address. Good evening, ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Kirk go to Lake City, so I will have to address this with y'all. And I do have an update from the last time we were all together. Our judge did issue an order in regards to Dale Harrod, who was the owner of A1 Automotive. She said she would have it done by November 15th. She did do that, and he was found guilty of one charge of junk to an operable motor vehicle. We did not cite him for all of the different vehicles that were above the limit. He was just cited once. So she did find that based on facts presented on September 20th or October 11th, a junk to an operable motor vehicle on September 20th when the citation was issued, just to update you all there. And then I guess I'm interested to hear what your recommendation is.
I got one real quick recommendation. Is it instructing the judge that if someone comes in and says that they have talked to anyone to hold a case or they spoke with whomever, is that a practice that we're doing in our city court?
Again, since I wasn't there October 11th, I don't know exactly what was said. I do know that Mr. Perry that he thought the ordinance was changing and that it had just recently changed. And I think the judge was concerned about timing as to when it had changed. After the fact, I did speak with her, and she said she was concerned that it had changed since he was issued the citation from the court date. Those 21 days and to take it under advisement to figure out the legislative history as when everything came into play. How exactly Mr. Dirk mentioned that, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that, Mr. Perry. I think you answered my question. That the judge.
Well, to further answer your question, we don't tell the judge how to rule on anything.
No.
Right.
We don't. Separation of powers. We stay out. Once it gets to the courtroom, we stay out of it.
Okay.
Other than presenting what evidence that the court need for a fair ruling, we don't suggest to the court how to rule anything.
Okay. It just sounded rather strange. I get a ticket, and I'm in a 55 zone, and I'm doing 75, and I say, oh, they're about to change that. I talk to certain people, and they're supposed to change the speed limit right here. Is the judge gonna throw that out? Is my point. So, okay, I'm good. Right?
Okay, so I guess I need to hear from you all what, as you know, we have currently on the books that the auto repair shops are no longer exempt from junk to inoperable motor vehicles to be stored outside. They also have a requirement that they can only have 4 cars per exterior service bay. After viewing certain locations on our code enforcement tour, I'm not sure, again, of a better way to do it. So our recommendation is still to use the 4 exterior service bays.
I thought we discussed also about just striping the lots.
That's an option that we recommended.
There's not a one community we live in. I mean, so.
Correct. And I think that, once we drove around, we can see that if we did the parking lot, that's also going to affect people in a negative way. Some, not all. Just as though the Forest Service base helps others or for cars per bay.
Out there that's parked on the right-of-way.
Yes.
But you can't have junk operable vehicles in any other commercial zoning. You can't have vehicles parked on the right-of-way in any other commercial zoning. So.
Junk or inoperable motor vehicle in an industrial zone.
Right, but in commercial zoning, but you can't park anything now on any other business on the right-of-way.
Well, that's all it is. The way I done.
Technically, no. Is that something that we enforce? No, because we have several residential areas where that's the only place they have to park. So right now,
we're talking about commercial zoning, such as used car dealerships. If they pull their cars too close, we go out and block. Correct.
We have no, sir.
10th and Taylor.
If something is
Street we've been out there on Williamson Road.
10th and Taylor.
It's
on the region bank.
Right. I mean, we've requested vehicles pulled off of sidewalks, off the right of way.
In our 4 years of prosecuting, we have not written a citation for that. So if we have gone out and done some kind of code enforcement action that I'm not aware of, maybe so, but we haven't had issues to the point where we have had to ask for a citation to be written and prosecuted in court.
So currently, any other commercial business besides car repair shops have to stripe their parking lot, keep vehicles parked where they can navigate. So we give either or to the existing grandfathered cars. They either have to go with a 4-car per bay door or stripe your parking lot as our current code specifies. That would give folks an either or option. And then put in our current, and make sure in our ordinance that any new that come in have to follow the parking lot rule based on what everybody else that's in a commercial district perform. Would that be a fair compromise to give each an opportunity to?
I think so. I'm in total agreement with that. Yeah, because that one.
And then we continue to enforce inoperable vehicle codes, whether they're commercial or whether they're in residential neighborhoods. If we can see them, as we're giving examples on the tour, as well as making sure vehicles in any type of business aren't parked on the city right of way, obstructing sidewalks, possibly parking on top of utilities. Is that something the board could potentially live with?
Absolutely.
Let me make sure I'm clear, because okay, so right now, if you're an existing business, you're going to have an option. Either you can have 4-car service bay door, or you'll have to stripe your parking lot in conformance with our UDC parking requirements, and you can be either one of those, just like any other commercial business.
And then any new businesses that open up, so these would have a kind of a grandfather clause. Anybody that's new that's coming in with a commercial auto repair or auto repair would have to meet our current UDC categories, just like any other business coming in Griffin.
Even if they're in an existing parking lot, they'll still have to go back in and stripe and make sure that it meets requirements.
If they're getting a new business.
Okay.
If it's not already marked.
And after, I don't know, is there something in our ordinance that says that an existing business change ownership, there's a 6-month or a 12, I mean, I don't know, is there something in our UDC that says if an existing business closes a period of time, it has to meet all current codes or anything?
Then you
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, for fire or something there might be, but not for parking lots, if that's what we're specifically discussing.
Right.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Require the physical restructuring of the existing lot and building.
think everyone knows how I feel about this and understand what's going on here. And whoever the new business owners are, if they're able to lobby and get to the right people, probably be able to change it again for that person. Like it is, what we put that these other people had to conform to, that spent their money to go out here and to do what was asked of them on a project that we started some 2 years ago. And now we're going to, and if it affects somebody, this is not going to solve the problem for everyone. The compromise was to help clean the city up, do what we said we were going to do, and we had a group of people who chose to do that. And a few, now we're going to allow them to do so. So I support any changes, and if you got a majority, I think it will pass.
And for clarification, Mr. McCord, if a business comes into the city of Griffin, an automotive business, based on our current code, they would have to have a striped parking lot.
But if it's existing, they would not have to change anything.
Would not, but if it's a new business.
Well, if it's an existing parking lot, it's existing business versus new business, and existing parking lot versus new parking lot. If they're coming in as new construction, then they're going to have to meet the UDC requirements. Currently, if they're coming in and just renting a space that already exists, they're not going to have to meet parking lot requirements, but we're now saying that they are, is what I'm hearing, and that's what I'm asking.
I'm talking about any other business, so in Griffin has to stripe the parking lot.
They have
to operate a business other than automotive industry.
They have maintenance requirements, yes, on their parking lot. And we've never said that an automotive business does not. And it's not really that they do or don't have to meet the parking lot. That's how many cars we want stored or not. It's not whether or not the parking lot meets the maintenance requirements. Even if it does, then they can only have that amount of cars. A lot of them are, we need to make sure that they understand it's not just striping a parking lot and then continuing to park them wherever they fit. It's going to be striping your parking lot and fitting them in the striped parking areas.
So we can make it sound however we want to make it sound. We can put all these words up here and play these word games. Either we're going to allow these people who did not come into compliance an opportunity to come into compliance, or we're going to stick by the rules that we have. Me personally, when it comes up for a vote, I'm going to do what staff recommended that we've been working on for the past 2 years, and that other people have come into compliance with, that chose to do what was asked of them. That it's just like anything else that we do. So if it's not, this is not a job where you're going to make everybody happy. Everybody is not going to be happy with your decision.
Our decisions on other issues, whether it's been yard waste, whether you've got to put 2 containers up by your curb or not get picked up. So we adjust things to fit the situation for the betterment of businesses and the citizens. So to me, it's a compromise for those that can handle the 4-car per bay door. Great. For those that have a larger parking lot that fit more vehicles, as long as there's not junk and inoperable, it gives them an opportunity, just like any other commercial business. If they've got a parking lot, they can park.
What about the ones this won't affect? It still help them out. Take for instance the guy next to McDonald's. Is this going to help him?
The guy next to McDonald's.
Right now, he can only park 8 cars. So if he can stripe his parking lot where he can get 12 or 15 or 16 cars, that meets our parking lot striping ordinance. So then it benefits him better than what he's currently.
So the 62 cars that he can get on his lot, he'll now be able to get how many on there?
I'm not parking lot striping expert, but based on cars on that spot. Okay. And that's where he and staff.
And just so that we're all clear as well, our parking requirements now are going to require them to submit plans that will have to be approved, because we have to know exactly what the dimensions are. So they will have to be drawn professionally, whether that's through a surveyor or an engineer. They will have to have that done in order for them to be able to use the parking lot. And they'll need to let us know. We can't come there one day and it be, oh, we're doing it out of the parking lot today and we're going to get that paved tomorrow. See, here's our schedule. I mean, how are we going to make sure that we know they're doing it by the parking lot or doing it back door?
there aesthetic standard? Well, it is striped, it's just not appealing.
Now, I don't know that we have ever said you've got to go out and repair that parking lot because you're a new business. We cannot, a new business, the only thing they have to come in is get an occupational tax certificate. We cannot premise that on anything. So once they do that, the only thing that we could withhold would be a CO or the fire inspection. And so we have not yet gone in and said, you also are going to have to do parking lot maintenance for us to issue that CO. At least not to my knowledge, unless Dr. Keller has done something with stormwater.
I'm not talking about parking lot maintenance. I'm talking about where the car is parked.
But I guess my question is, you're saying that as we have, you're giving an option, but then saying as we have all other new businesses. And what she's saying is there is no as we have all other businesses, new businesses. That would then be a special circumstance attached to automotive stuff because we're not requiring the person that's up a thrift store to go and retrieve the lot, even if they're in business. That would be something specifically attached to your opening an automotive, a new automotive business, right? Not just because you're a business.
Correct. Unless we're going to start enforcing that on every new business, which right now we do not.
By that token, we're now creating a new exception in the future that is not going to be part of UDC because it's going to be just for these people.
Restaurant, a laundromat have their own private parking. They stripe it because it can control chaos.
Require it. If it's an existing structure, unless we say, like we're about to have to do one now, Family Dollar, that parking lot has just become awful. You can't drive a car through there. So we're going to have to proceed and say you have to maintain your parking lot. Normally the businesses do it on their own because that's good business, so we don't have to get involved in that. But right now, this is the first one I've handled that we're going to have to say you're going to have to go in and pave it and restripe it because there's just,
But I think if you do it for one class of business, you got to do it for all classes.
Right.
And there are parking lots all over this thing about needed striping on. They might have been perfectly striped and very aesthetically pleasing at one time, but they're not any longer. So we may be opening up another can of worms.
Correct.
So excuse my ignorance, but just let me inquire further. Is striping synonymous with repairing the part? Okay.
No.
That striping literally means we came out and painted lines regardless of what the surface of the parking lot is.
Right, and that's not what we're, from what I understand, suggesting for them being able to do a parking lot exempt from repair shops. They would have to have it in accordance with our current UDC requirements. Landscaping, curbing, all of that is in the UDC right now. If we're just going to say parking lot striping, I'm not sure how we're going to be able to delineate and draw that line because it's not really just here's your striping requirements. There's all different kinds of things in the parking lot ordinance.
Your last or earlier was just to stripe. You didn't say anything about requiring landscaping.
No, it would be up to the UDC. You'd have to meet the UDC requirements. And I mean, all of that is, you have to have drive aisles, you have to, all of that deals with striping, but there's other things that are required too. If it's a certain size, you're going to now be required to have stormwater if you don't have a currently existing parking lot and don't already pay that. If you do go then in and pave, you'll have to, depending on the size of it.
Mr. Attorney, those who have the courage will to change and they'll decide how they want to do it. I think I commend you guys for the work that you've put in for the last 2 years on trying to come up with something that most other people have decided that they would do and do that. Those who don't want to, we have people who are willing to compromise with them. And we can sit here and continue to play these word striping games and act like, oh, if we do this, that'll make my logic sound better. It's just, do you have the courage to go ahead and vote for it? And I mean, why do we keep bringing this up every other meeting? And I don't know what else that you guys can say. We got the attorneys. Now we open up another can of worms, and that doesn't fit into the logic. So either we put it on the agenda, and if 4 people or 5 or 6 have the courage to go out here and do that, then we'll just do it. just keep talking about it is not going to help. We've talked about it for 2 years. Nobody up here is a striping, not that I'm aware of, is an expert on parking lot striping. The people who go out and look at this, write tickets for it, that's their job. And we come back up here to try to compromise because 1 or 2 people don't like what's going on. I'm just not, I mean, I don't understand why we keep talking about this. Either you vote for it or you don't. Either you have an ordinance or you don't have an ordinance. And if you have the courage to do that, just do it.
The issue is not courage. The issue is that the 4-car per bay door to some businesses is not fair if they have adequate space in their lot. So what I'm trying to figure out, is there a way to...
Stormwater utility is not fair.
Not a $500,000 culvert or some other repairs you've got to fix. You spread the wealth amongst everybody. You might not think it's fair. Someone else may think it's the best way to do it. Double taxing someone on property tax somewhere else.
So how do we compromise those who live in an apartment and they have to pay for garbage pickup?
They pay a lesser fee than those that are single family.
So that's compromise.
That's what you voted on as well as the Board of Commissioners has voted on. I'm asking, how can you do the striping rule to give the folks an opportunity other than just throwing...
I told you the striping rule, if you do that, you're going to open a can of worms for everything else. If you want to do that, it's not about striping. That's not what we're up here to talk about. Striping. You know, I know it. Everybody here knows it. If you want to compromise and allow these people to, we're not going to write them tickets, then say, just do that. All this about striping and bay doors, we put that out there. We've said this is the rule. We had people who said, okay, I will abide by the rule. I'm going to do what you ask. I'm spending money to clean up my lot, do everything that is asked of them. Now we get a way that for some reason we think that, oh, if we say it this way, then that'll make it work. And it's not working.
Your other option is just not to have any kind of requirement of the number of vehicles that they have at the location, except for that they can't.
Or on the right of way.
Or on the right of way.
The intent of the striping was so you could tell how many cars actually fit on the parking lot and ensure ingress and egress. The difference in this and a regular commercial business is if you're Family Dollar, you want ingress and egress. You don't store cars at Family Dollar that just sit there and block the parking lot. So just by nature, you have a parking space with a car in it that comes and goes. In the case of a repair shop, you're actually storing, really care about ingress and egress because they're the people moving the cars around. So the intent of the striping there was so we could easily determine how many cars could fit on the parking lot without putting them jam up next to each other this way, that way, and just fit them on there as you could fit on there. It was to have it striped like a parking lot to limit the number of cars. We would not require that parking lot to meet all the UDC requirements of landscaping and islands unless that parking lot was completely refurbished. Just like the film school at the Walmart that sat vacant for 20 years, all they did was come back in and striped it. We didn't require them to put in islands and landscaping and curbing. Hobby Lobby, they came in and put in a few islands because they thought that made the parking lot look better, but we didn't require them to do anything to the parking lot because we couldn't. So all we want in the striping is just to be able to determine how many spaces will fit on that parking lot with the appropriate ingress and egress and not require them to build a detention pond.
Can we do that without legal saying you can't do it? And so you're both talking two different stories.
I think you can.
I'm ready to move forward.
Going against legal advice.
No.
So you do want to require them to resurface? That's two different things.
I just want
strike
so they can park cars.
You want to compromise.
You just want
what it is.
you just want an engineer drawing showing how many cars can fit on the parking lot reasonable.
That's all I'm asking, but they're telling me they're going to put islands and trees and shrubbery
They
and
will
buffers
not,
and everything
unless
else.
it's a new parking lot. They will not have to put islands and landscape.
All I'm asking is, can we do a stripe your parking lot based on our UDC idea and give folks a space that's...
At this point, the best way to handle it is to go back and see what the parking lot striping, how it's delineated from everything else. If we can make it one that we can reference, then sure. We have that way. Now, the parking lot stuff is all in one different. And so if it's like this sector striping and resurfacing, or we can exempt these requirements, then we can do that. I'm just not sure how to legally how we're going to draft that at this point without. And I'm sorry that I don't have that section.
Well, I'm in favor of the either-or option to give those that have larger parking lots an opportunity to use their space that they have.
And be for existing businesses, new, those near.
The existing businesses.
Okay, and what about new businesses?
New businesses would have to follow any other new business.
I don't like those.
Which is
straight.
right.
I don't like those who when we had the ordinance that we've been working on, those people who went in compliance. So I guess, and then if a new business comes along and they decide that, hey, can y'all compromise? Then we'll have people that will just compromise. But until then, we'll change it for this one guy. Then if a new business comes along, we'll figure out a way legally or not legally to compromise with that person.
If you just leave the either or option for new businesses too, then that's up to them to stripe it or not, or have the 4 cars per bay instead of requiring the striping when we don't require that of any other business. New structure, new parking lot, but new business does not. So if you leave that either or option, I think that's going to be a better idea than just saying you have to stripe.
Okay. Brock?
Well, we need to accommodate the different sized businesses in Griffin, Georgia. And I think this is one way of doing it. I think it's fair to everybody to do it that way. I would vote yes.
I would vote yes. I don't want to put people out of business, and I know we were talking about individual Hollywood's lot. He can only park. He's got 2 bay doors, so he can only park 8 vehicles. And I don't know where all the stuff about 60 cars came from. But
Came from him.
Okay, well he I don't.
That's what those his words, not mine.
Maybe the smart cars can say that, but I don't think there's any way you can park that many vehicles down there. But I don't want to see anybody, put out of business. These people are hardworking individuals. I wasn't here 2 years ago when all this stuff, came up. But I'm certainly be in favor of compromise.
Ms. Flowers?
It's me going Rivers, and it has nothing to do with not wanting to support business. As I said previously, I do think that these are valid. I think I know because I don't think that this is a sufficient compromise.
You have a broader...
But I do not think this is the one.
Okay. Ms. Berg?
I mean, here again, I wasn't here 2 years ago to start this process, and I know that staff has worked extremely hard, and so I was open to the idea of or improvising. It has nothing to do with rules being enforced, and some got up the code and some chose not to, and that's for favor. But I do see that we do have businesses in town that were already doing business for quite some time, and we changed for them. I don't like that. I'm a business owner. If that happened to me, I would feel that more options need to be explored. However, I know there's not one size that's going to make everyone happy. I do feel that the businesses that we're talking about, they express the amount of money that they've lost, and it's, to me, unfortunate because they do have space. I'm more concerned with the aesthetics. If I were new coming into this and I did not know previous previous past 2 years of what's been worked on. To me, to improve on the aesthetics of the city, I'm more concerned. Some of the used car lots have worse looking vehicles than some of these that we went and looked at just last week. I mean, as long as they're not junked or in focus, if you purchase that or you're leasing the space and you have the capacity to work on that amount of business or cars, I really don't want to inhibit their business either, especially because they were already doing so for quite some time. So that's why I went with the idea of negotiating or just taking the work you all have done and kind of fine-tune it. So I'm open to anything that's going to make everyone happy. If you have a large-scale business such as the two that we were talking about, I really don't feel that inhibiting their business to make everybody into this 4 per bay door is, I'm not going to vote for that.
Mr. McCord, we've already got your opinion. If you'd like to add anything else.
My opinion is definitely a no. I'm going to take staff recommendations, what we started with, what we worked on for the last 2 years, and I'm going to take those people who did what was good for them, who cleaned up their life. Those are the people that I'm going to stand beside, and I'm never up here to try to put anybody out of business by creating over. I don't think that we're trying to put people out of business because we asked them to do certain things to help our city look better. And those who chose to do so and spend their time and their money to do so, I'm going to stand proudly with those people and tell them thank you for abiding by the ordinance, trying to do right, what the hard work these people have put in, making unpopular decisions that actually cost them money, that they lost money having to do that. So that's what I'm going to stand with today. And I'm sorry if we can't help, the compromise does not help them, because now they could have had a decision to make it. They could have chose to do bay door or striking rather than doing what they had to do, and they weren't afforded that opportunity. So I'm going to stand with those. So my vote is definitely on.
We'll get sent out and bring it for the next meeting.
Any other business today? Drew, did you want to talk about it?
Well, let me read something. Take just a moment. Last month at the workshop, we talked a little bit about DC's 77th order on broadband. I told you then it to become effective on January 14, 2019. However, we anticipated some appeals being filed. 2 groups have filed appeals already. They're looking for other cities or other entities to join with them. The APPA, the American Power Association, of which the City of Griffin is a member, they filed about a week ago, and they're asking for their members to join in their appeal, which I assume at some point will mean cost sharing, although I don't know what that cost may be. They haven't told us that. A group of cities from around the country, in Washington, D.C. also, and the D.C. Court of Appeals. It looks like, from the last word I had last week, that the Administrative Office, of course, for the U.S. Court of Appeals is probably going to assign all of these cases to a single court, and it's probably going to be the 10th Circuit out in Washington area to actually handle the appeal there, so they'll consolidate them. But be thinking we don't have to do anything yet. I hadn't got any definite information, as I said, from either group. It's worthwhile, probably. It looks like there are a number of appeals going on, probably at least 8 to 10 that have been filed thus far. And I think the chances are pretty good the order itself will not become effective on the 14th. But we're not sure yet how that's going to work out. Now your meeting, you've got one meeting coming in December. Maybe at that time we'll be in a position to ask for some decision. Anything else?
second?
Second.
Mr. McCord. See y'all tonight at 6.
The stock really gonna pull it out. I mean,
You've got a recommendation. I'd love to hear it.
Thank you.
So my computer is still downloading the updates for the last hour. Is this right where it is? A lot of